Good evening, all. Hopefully the stream is finding you well. I know it's midnight, and we're gonna be trying a little something tonight. This is just a test of the whole thing. And for the looks like it's going good. Hi guys, good evening. Well, it's been a long time, but I'm back, and from the looks of things, it looks like everything is working just swimmingly right now. So I'm hoping that this will kind of stay where it is. Please, if there's any little issues or things like that, again, this is just the first one. So I am now restreaming on Streamlabs OBS, and there is a lot of different stuff that is going on right now as far as, so I've got Streamlabs OBS, which has its own little personal program as well. And then not to mention the fact that we're restreaming this live on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. So there's going to be a lot of different stuff. So what I have for you tonight is different. Unfortunately, I cannot play music, but I wanted to try something a little bit different. And as you can see behind me, I've got and coolest thing now is like I've got backgrounds, I've got a little bit of like some scary music in the background, or like rain in a fireplace. So a little rain in a fireplace. But yeah, so this is what I have for you tonight. Just while we're kind of testing this thing out, and I'm checking on my multiple streams here and seeing what's going on here. So far, no drop frames. Everything seems to be good. People seem to be watching, and I'll be watching the comments and things like that. So it looks like everything is going very well. And I want to give a really, really big thank you to Sean Driscoll, who it's been a couple days, but he put this small PC for me together. And Sean, thank you so much. Appreciate it. So I've finally been able to figure out everything. For the most part, it's still not 100% perfect, but trust me, there's a lot going on for that. So before I continue on any further, here we have the little intermission page. So this is going to give you all of my information right there. And I love this. This thing looks so professional. It looks so great as opposed to what I was doing before. This looks so great. So I'm so glad I've gone back from Macintosh to PC. So happy. So very happy. But again, this is a big shout out to Sean Driscoll for helping me out and helping me to sort of figure this out, since I'm no longer doing that old streaming thing that I was doing years ago was a lot of fun, but it is what it is now. So anyway, check it out down there. You've got all my Instagram, my YouTube, and Twitter. And then, folks, please, I do have a Patreon, so you go check me out on Patreon, JJ Wolf. We're gonna have some merch coming out pretty soon. I'm also on Twitch right now. It's JJ Wolf Music Band, so you can find me. And if you guys want to tip, you can also tip on streamlabs.com/JJWolf1tips/tips, and you can also hit me up on Venmo. So if you guys please want to help me out, that would be great. If you guys want to sponsor any of these videos, that'd be these streams, that would be awesome too. Do products and stuff. So, if you guys have products you guys want me to do, endorse, whatever it is, I'm open up for that. So anyway, without any further ado, so this is what I have for you right here. Let's get back to this. So what I have for you guys tonight is I have a book here of Irish fairy tales. And I figure, well, I'm in a library, I'm in a study, and I might as well So this is by W.B. Yeats, and this is some Irish fairy folk tales. Now because the room is a little bit creepy and at night, and I figured it'd be pretty cool to have, something rather nice. They've got all kinds of stuff in here. We've got ghosts. So I'd say a nice ghost story is, and you know what? We will do A Legend of Tyrone or Grace Connor. I think Grace Connor sounds pretty good. Page 177. So we will go there. 177. Okay. So let's see. Grace O'Connor. Okay, here we go. This is a ghost story. So hope you guys enjoy. Let me just kind of go ahead and lower the background music here for a second. There we go. Okay, Grace O'Connor. Thaddy and Grace O'Connor lived on the borders of a large turf bog in the parish of Clonenvock, where they could hear the little Atlantic surges thunder in upon the shore, and see the wild storms of winter sweep over the muckish mountain and its rugged neighbors. Even in summer, the cabin by the bog was dull and dreary enough. Thaddy Connor worked in the fields, and Grace made a livelihood as a peddler, carrying a basket of remnants of cloth, calico, drugget, and frieze about the country. The people rarely visited any of the large town, and found it convenient to buy from Grace, who welcomed in many a lonely house where there was a table was hastily cleared that she might display her wares. Being considered a very honest woman, she was frequently entrusted with commissions to the shops in Letterkenny and Hamilton. As she set out towards home, her basket was generally laden with little gifts for her children. "Grace, dear," one of the kind housewives would say, "here is a farrel, a oaten cake wi' a taste of butter on it. Take it with ye for the weans. Or here, a half dozen of eggs. You've got a big family to support." Small Connors of all ages crowded around the weary mother to rifle her basket of these gifts. But her thrifty, hard life suddenly came to an end. She died after an illness of a few hours, and walked and was buried as handsomely as Thaddy could afford. Thaddy was in bed the night after the funeral, and the fire still burned brightly when he saw his departed wife cross the room and bend over the cradle. Terrified, he muttered rapid prayers, covered his face with a blanket, and on looking up again, the appearance was gone. The next night he had lifted the infant out of the cradle and laid it behind him in the bed, hoping thus to escape his ghostly visitor. But Grace was presently in the room, and stretching over him to wrap up her child. Shrinking and shuddering, the poor man exclaimed, "Grace, woman, what is it that brings you back? What do you want with me?" "I want nothing from you, Thaddy, but to put the wean back in her cradle," replied the spectre in a tone of scorn. "You're too feared for me. But my sister Rose will not be feared for me. Tell her to meet me tomorrow in the evening in the old Wallsteads." Rose lived with her mother, about a mile off, but she obeyed her sister's summons without the least fear, and kept the strange tryst in due time. "Rose, dear," she said, as she appeared before her sister in the old Wallsteads, "my mind's uneasy about the rose red shawls in that basket. Patty Hunter and Jane Taggart paid me for them, and I bought them with their money. Friday was 8 days. Give them the shawls the morrow, and old Mosley McCurl guide me the price of a wily coat. It is under the other things in the basket. And now farewell. I can get thee to my rest." "Grace, Grace, bide thee a wee minute," cried the faithful sister. As the voice grew fainter, the dear face began to fade. "Grace, darling, Thaddy, the children, one word more, but neither the cries nor tears could further detain the spirit hastening to her rest. It's a lot of fun, isn't it? We'll do one more. It's a little short. Sometimes the ghost stories are not all that great. Here's a good one. Here's a really good one. So that was a short one. We'll do one more, and then we'll call it we'll call it a day. Because I can kind of see that it's doing its thing, and I'm glad that it is. So here it is. Here's another one. The Fate of Frank McKenna. There lived a man named McKenna at the hip of one of the mountainous hills which divides the country of Tyrone from Monaghan. This McKenna had 2 sons, one of whom was in the habit of tracing hares of a Sunday whenever there happened to be a fall of snow. His father, it seems, had frequently remonstrated with him upon what he considered to be a violation of the Lord's Day, as well as for his general neglect of Mass. The young man, however, though otherwise harmless and inoffensive, was in this matter quite insensible to paternal reproof, and continued to trace whenever avocations of labor would allow him. And so it happened that upon a Christmas morning, I think in the year of 1814, there was a deep fall of snow, and young McKenna, instead of going to Mass, got down with his stick, which is a staff much thicker and heavier at one end than at the other, and set out to his favorite amusement. His father, seeing this, reproved him seriously and insisted that he should attend prayers. His enthusiasm for the sport, however, was stronger than his love of religion, and refused to be guided by his father's advice. The old man during the altercation got warm, and on finding the son abstainingly scorned his authority, he knelt down and prayed that if the boy persisted in following his own will, he might never return from the mountains, unless as a corpse. The imprecation, which was certainly as harsh as it was impious and senseless, might have startled many a mind from a purpose that it was, to say the least, at a variance with religion and the respect due to a father. It had no effect, however, upon the son, who is said to reply that whether he ever returned or not, he was determined on going, and go accordingly. He did. He was not, however, alone, for it appears that 3 or 4 of the neighboring young men accompanied him. Whether their sport was good or otherwise is not to the purpose, neither am I able to say. But the story goes that towards the latter part of the day, they had started at a larger and darker hare than they had ever seen, and that she kept dodging on before them, bit by bit, leaving them to suppose that every succeeding cast of the sticks would bring her down. It was observed afterwards that she also led them into the recesses of the mountains, and that they tried to turn her course homewards. They could not succeed in doing so. As the evening advanced, the companions of McKenna began to feel the folly of pursuing farther, and to perceive the danger of losing their way in the mountains, should night or snowstorm come upon them. They therefore proposed to give over to the chase and return home. But McKenna would not hear of it. "If you wish to go home, you may," he said. "As for me, I'll never leave the hills till I have her with me." They begged and entreated him to desist and to return, but to no purpose. He appeared that what the Scotch call fry, that is, to act as if he were moved by some impulse that leads to death, and from the influence of which a man cannot withdraw himself. At length, on finding him invincibly obstinate, they left him, pursuing the hare directly to the hearts of the mountains, and returned to their respective homes. In the meantime, one of the most terrible snowstorms ever remembered in that part of the country came on, and the consequence was that the self-willed young man, who had equally trampled over the sanctities of religion and parental authority, was given over for lost. As soon as the tempest became still, the neighbors assembled in a body and proceeded to look for him. The snow, however, had fallen so heavily that not a single mark or footstep could be seen. Nothing but one wide waste of white undulating hills met the eye wherever it turned, and of McKenna no trace wherever was visible or could be found. His father, now remembering the unnatural character of his imprecation, was nearly distracted, for although the body had not yet been found, still by everyone who witnessed the sudden rage of storm and who knew the mountains, escape or survival was felt to be impossible. Every day, for about a week, large parties were out among the hill seeking him, but to no purpose. At length there were a thaw, and his body was found on a snow wreath laying in a supine posture with a circle in which he had drawn around him with his stick. His prayer book lay open upon his mouth. His hat was pulled down so as to cover his face. It was unnecessary to say that the rumor of his death and the circumstances in which he left his home created a most extraordinary sensation in the country. A sensation that was greater in proportion to the uncertainty occasioned by his not having been found either dead or alive. Some affirmed that he had crossed the mountains and was seen in Monaghan. Others, that he had been seen in Clones, in Emmyville, in 5 Mile Town. But despite all these things, agreeable reports, the melancholy truth at length was made clear by the appearance of the body as just stated. Now, it so happened that the house nearest the spot where he lay was inhabited by a man named Daly. I think but of the name, I'm not certain, who was the herd of a caretaker to Dr. Porter, then the Bishop of Clogher. The situation of his house was the most lonely and desolate looking that could be imagined. It was nearly 2 miles distant from any human habitation, being surrounded one wide and dreary waste of dark moor. By his house lay the route of those who had found the corpse, and I believe the door of it was borrowed for the purpose of conveying it home. Be this as it may, the family witnessed the melancholy procession as it passed slowly through the mountains, and when the place and the circumstances are all considered, we may admit to the ignorant and the superstitious peoples whose minds, even upon ordinary occasions, were strongly affected by such matters. It was a sight calculated to leave behind it a deep, and if not so terrible impression. The time soon proved that it did so. An incident it is said to have occurred at the funeral, in fine keeping with the wild spirit of the whole melancholy event. When the procession had advanced to a place called Mulganini, a large, dark-colored hare, which was instantly recognized by those who had been out with him on the hills as identical to the one that led him to his fate, is said to have crossed the roads about 20 yards or so before the coffin. The story goes that a man struck it on the side with a stone, and that the blow, which would have killed any ordinary hare, not only did it no injury, but occasioned a sound to proceed from the body resembling the hollow one emitted by an empty barrel when it struck. In the meantime, the interment took place. The sensation began, like every other, to die away in the natural progress of time, when, behold, a report ran abroad like wildfire that, to the language of the people, Frank McKenna was appearing. About a fortnight after his funeral, while the daughter of Daly, the herd, a girl about 14, lying in bed, saw what happened to have appeared to be the likeness of McKenna, who had been lost. She screamed out, and covering her head with her bedclothes, told her father and her mother that Frank McKenna was in the house. This alarming intelligence naturally produced great terror. Still, Daly, who, notwithstanding his belief in such matters, possessed a good deal of moral courage, was cool enough to rise, examine the house, which consisted of only one apartment. This gave the daughter some courage, who, on finding that her father could not see him, ventured to look out, and then she could see nothing of him herself. She soon, very soon, and her father attributed what she saw to fear or some accidental combination of shadows proceeding from the furniture, for it was a clear moonlit night. The light of the following day dispelled a great deal of their apprehensions, and comparatively little thought of it until evening again advanced, when the fears of the daughter, for she said when night came that she knew he would appear again. He would appear again. And accordingly, at the same hour, he did so. This was repeated for several successive nights until the girl, from very hardihood of terror, began to become so far familiarized to the spectre as to venture to address it. "In the name of God," she asked, "what is troubling you? Or why do you appear to me instead of some of your own family or relations?" The ghost's answer alone might settle the question involved in the authenticity of its appearance, being as it was on account of one of the most ludicrous missions that ever a spirit was dispatched upon. "I am not allowed," said he, "to speak of any of my friends, for I parted with them in anger. But I've come to tell you that they are quarreling about my breeches and a new pair that I got made for Christmas Day. And as I was coming up the terrace to the mountains, I thought the old coming up to Sorry guys, this is hilarious. We'll repeat this, but here it is. "I'm not allowed," he said, "to speak of any of my friends, for I parted with them in anger. But I've come to tell you that they are quarreling over my breeches and new pair that I got made for Christmas Day. And as I was coming up to the terrace of the mountains, I thought the old one 'ud do better. And of course, I didn't put the new pair on me. My reason for appearing," he added, "is that you must tell my friends that none of them is to wear them. They must be given in charity." The serious and solemn intimidation from the ghost was duly communicated to the family, and it was found that the circumstances were exactly as it had been represented to them. This, of course, was considered as sufficient proof of the truth of its mission. The conversations now became not only frequent, but quite friendly and familiar. The girl became a favorite of the spectre, and the spectre, on the other hand, soon lost all terrors in his eyes. He told her that whilst his friends were bearing home his body, the handspikes of poles which they carried in him cut his back and occasioned him with great pain. The cutting of the back was also known to be true, and the strength and, of course, the truth and authenticity of their dialogues. The whole neighborhood was now in a commotion of the story of the apparition, and persons, incited by curiosity, began to visit the girl in order to satisfy themselves of the truth of what they have heard. Everything, however, was corroborated, and the child herself, without any sympathy of anxiety or terror, artlessly related her conversations with the spirit. Hitherto the interviews had all been nocturnal, but now the ghost found his footing made good. He hardly put a face on, and ventured to appear by daylight. The girl also fell into states of syncope, and while the fits lasted, long conversations upon the subject of God, the Blessed Virgin, and heaven took place between them. He was certainly an excellent moralist, and he gave the best advice. Swearing, drunkenness, theft, and every evil propensity of our nature were declaimed against with a degree of spectral eloquence quite surprising. Common fame now had a topic dear to her heart, and never was a ghost made more by his best friends than she made of him. The whole country was in a tumult, and I well remember the crowds which flocked to the lonely little cabin in the mountains, now the scene of matters and so interesting and important. Not a single day passed, and when I should think from 10 to 20, 30, or 50 persons were not present at these singular interviews. Nothing else was talked of, as I can well testify, dreamt of. I found myself having gone there, were not confounded misgiving that I had. Perhaps the ghost might taken such a fancy of appearing to me, as he had to cultivate the intimacy with the girl. And so it happens that when I see the face of an individual nailed down in the coffin, chilling and gloomy operation, I experience no particular wish to look upon it again. The spot where the body of McKenna was found is now marked by a little heap of stones, which has been collected since the melancholy event of his death. Every person who passes throws a stone upon the heap. But why? I do not know. Why this custom of praise is practiced, or what it means, unless it be simply to mark the spot of visible means of preserving the memory of the occurrence, I do not know. The house, the scene of the supposed apparition, is now a shapeless ruin, which could scarcely be seen for not the green spot that once was the garden, and which it shines at a distance like an emerald, but no agreeable or pleasing associations. It's a spot with no solitary schoolboy will ever visit, nor indeed with the unflinching believer, with the popular nonsense of ghosts which to pass it without a companion. It is under any circumstance a gloomy and barren place. But when looked upon in connection with just what we have been recited, it is lonely, it is desolate, and it is awful. The end. Well, listen, guys, I know this is a kind of a weird thing for me, but in the meantime, we're going to take a short break, and I'm going to take a swig of something. I'm going to go ahead and do one more. Now, the next one I'm going to do is actually an Irish version of Cinderella, I believe. And this is a great version of Cinderella, I think, because it's one of those stories that I feel that gives a little bit more pretense. So anyway, guys, before I continue on, please feel free to check out not only all my social media stuff down here. Don't forget to check all that stuff out. Also, off to this side, please join me on my Patreon at JJ Wolf. You guys can find me. Just go to patreon.com, look up JJ Wolf. You can find JJ Wolf Music Man on Twitch, which we're streaming right now live on Twitch. And we're also doing Venmo. If you guys want to help me out and keep these streams up and running, that would be really, really, really awesome. So thank you, guys. That would be really awesome, you guys, if you guys could. If you guys could help me with that, that would be great. Okay. So let's get back to it. So this one is called Small Head and the King's Son. And again, this is a wonderful telling of Cinderella, the Irish version of Cinderella. This is a wonderful version of Cinderella, and hopefully you guys are watching. And I want to say again, thank you so much to Chandra School for helping me put all this stuff together, and and all that. So this one is called Small Head and the King's Sons. So again, this is an Irish version of. What was I saying? Of Cinderella. It's an Irish version. Here we go. Long ago, there lived in Erin a woman who married a man of high degree and had one daughter. Soon after the birth of the daughter, the husband died. The woman was not long a widow when she married a second time and had 2 daughters. These 2 daughters hated their half-sister. Though she was not wise as another, they nicknamed her Small Head. When the elder of the 2 sisters was 14 years old, their father died, and the mother was in great, great grief and began to pine away. She used to sit at home in the corner and never leave the house. Small Head was kind to her mother, and the mother was fonder of her eldest daughter than the other 2, who were ashamed of her. At last the other 2 sisters made up their mind to kill their mother. One day, their half-sister was gone. They put the mother in a pot, boiled her, and threw her bones outside. When Small Head came home, there was no sign of the mother. "Where's me mother?" she asked one of the other 2. "She went out somewhere. How should we know where she is?" "Oh, wicked girls, you've killed my mother," said Small Head. Small Head wouldn't leave the house now. Not at all. And the sisters were very angry. "No man will marry either one of us if they see our fool of a sister." Since they could not drive Small Head from the house, they made up their minds to go away themselves. One fine morning they left home, unknowns to their half-sister, and traveled on many miles. When Small Head discovered that her sisters were gone, she hurried after them and never stopped till she came up with the 2. They had to go home with her that day, but they scolded her bitterly. The 2 settled to kill Small Head. So one day they took 20 needles and scattered them outside in a pile of straw. "We're going to that hill beyond," they said, "to stay till evening. And if you not had all the needles that are in the straw gathered outside on the tables before us, we will have your life." Away they went to the hill. Small Head sat down and was crying bitterly when a short gray cat walked in and spoke to her. "Why do you cry and lament so?" asked the cat. "Well, my sisters abused me and beat me," answered Small Head. "This morning they said they would kill me in the evening unless I had all the needles and straw side gathered out before them." "Sit down here," said the cat, "and dry your tears, lass." The cat soon found 20 needles and brought them to Small Head. "Stop there now," said the cat, "and listen to what I tell you. I am your mother. Your sisters killed me and destroyed my body, but don't harm them. Do them good. Do the best for you can save them. Obey my words, and it will be better for you in the end." The cat went away herself, and by that evening, the needles were on the table, and the sisters came home, and they saw them. But upon appearing, they were vexed and angry when they saw the 20 needles, and they said someone was helping their sister. One night, while Small Head was in bed and asleep, they started away again, resolved this time to never return. Small Head slept till morning. When she saw that the sisters were gone again, she followed. She traced them from place to place, inquired here and there, day after day, till one evening some person told her that they were in the house of an old hag, a terrible enchantress, who had 1 son and 3 daughters. That house was a bad place to be in, for the old hag had more power of witchcraft than anyone, and it was very wicked. Smallhead hurried away to save her sisters, and facing the house, knocked at the door and asked for lodgings for God's sake. "Oh, then," said the hag, "it is hard to refuse anyone lodgings, and besides, on such a wild and stormy night. I wonder if you're anything to the young ladies who came this way this evening." The two sisters heard this and were angry enough that Smallhead was in it, but they said nothing, not wishing the old hag to know the relationship. After supper, the hag told the three strangers to sleep in a room on the right side of the house. When her own daughters were going to bed, Smallhead saw her tie a ribbon around the neck of each one of them and heard her say, Do you sleep in the left-hand bed?" Smallhead hurried and said to her sisters, "Come quickly, or I'll tell the woman who you are." They took the bed into the left-hand room and were in it before the hag's daughters came. "Oh," said the daughters, "the other bed is good." So when they took the bed in the right hand, and when Smallhead knew the hag's daughters were asleep, she took the ribbons off of their necks and put them on her sisters' necks and on her own. She laid awake, and after a while she heard the hag say to her son, "Go now and kill the three girls. They have the clothes and money. You have killed enough in your life, and so let these go." "But you have killed enough. Let these ones go," said the son. But the old woman would not listen. The boy rose up, fearing his mother, and taking a long knife, went to the right hand of the room and cut the throats of the three girls without the ribbons. He went to the bed then for himself, and when Smallhead found the old hag was asleep, she roused her sisters and told them what had happened, and made dress quickly and follow her. Believe me, this time they were willing and glad to follow. The three traveled briskly and came upon the bridge, called at the time the Bridge of Blood. Whoever had killed a person could not cross the bridge. When the three girls came to the bridge, the two sisters stopped, and they could not go a step further. Smallhead ran across and went back again. "If I did not know that you killed our mother," she said, "I might not know it now, for this bridge is the Bridge of Blood." She carried one sister over the bridge on her back, and the other. Hardly was this done when the hag was at the bridge. "Bad luck to you, Smallhead," she said. "I did not know it was you in the last evening. You have killed my three daughters." "It wasn't I that killed them, but yourself," said Smallhead. The old hag could not cross the bridge, so she began to curse, and she put every curse on Smallhead that she could remember. They heard that 2 servants were needed in the castle, and so the sisters traveled on till they came to the castle. "Go now," said Smallhead to the 2 sisters, "and ask for service. Be faithful and do well. You can never go back by the road you came." The 2 found employment at the king's castle. Smallhead took lodging in the house of a blacksmith nearby. "I should be glad to find a place as kitchen maid in the castle," said Smallhead to the blacksmith's wife. "I will go to the castle and find a place for you," said the woman. The blacksmith's wife found a place for Smallhead as a kitchen maid in the castle, and she went there the next day. "I must be careful," thought Smallhead, "and do my best. I am in a strange place. My 2 sisters here in the great king's castle. Who knows? We have fortune yet." She neatly dressed herself, and she was cheerful. Everyone liked her, better than her sisters, though they were beautiful. The king had 2 sons, one at home and the other abroad. Smallhead thought to herself one day, "It is time for the son who is here in the castle to marry. I will speak to him the first time I can." One day he was alone in the garden and went up to him and said, "Why are you not getting married? It is high time for you." Well, he only laughed and thought she was too bold, but then thinking she was a plain, simple-minded girl who wished to be pleasant and said, I will tell you my reason. My grandfather bound my father by an oath to never let his oldest son marry until he could get the Sword of Light, and I'm afraid that I shall be long without marrying. Do you know where the Sword of Light is, or who has it? Asked Smallhead. Oh, I do. An old hag who has great power and enchantment. She lives a long distance from this castle beyond the Bridge of Blood. I cannot go there myself. I cannot cross the Bridge of Blood, for I have killed men in battle. Even if I could cross the bridge, I would not go, for many is the king's son that the hag has destroyed or enchanted. Suppose some person were to bring you the Sword of Light, and that person a woman, would you marry her? I would indeed, said the king's son. If you promise to marry my elder sister, I will strive to bring the Sword of Light. I will promise most willingly, said the king's son. The next morning, Smallhead set out on a journey. Calling at the first shop, she bought a stone of weight of salt and went on her way, never stopping or resting till she reached the old hag's house by nightfall. Dun-dun-dun. She climbed the gable, looked down and saw the son making a great pot of stirabout for his mother, and she hurrying him. I'm as hungry as a hawk, she cried. Whenever the boy looked away, Smallhead dropped salt down, and when he was not looking, dropped it till she had the whole stone of salt in the stirabout. The old hag waited and waited, at last she cried out, Bring me the stirabout, I am starving. Bring the pot, I will eat from the pot. Give the milk here as well. The boy brought the stirabout and the milk, and the old woman began to eat. The first taste she got, she spat out and screamed, You put salt in the pot in place of meal. I did not, mother. You did, and it's a mean trick that you played on me. Throw this stirabout to the pig outside and go for water to throw in the well. I cannot go, said the boy. Tonight 'tis too dark, and I might fall into the well. You must go and bring the water. I cannot live till morning without eating. I'm as hungry as yourself, said the boy, but how can I go without a single light? I will not go unless you give me a light. If I give you the Sword of Light, there's no knowing who may follow you. Maybe that devil of a Smallhead is outside. But sooner than fast, till morning, the old hag gave the Sword of Light to her son, warning him to take good care of it. He took the Sword of Light and went out. As he saw no one, when he came to the well, he left the sword on the top of the steps going down to the water, so as to have good light. He had not got down many steps when Smallhead had the sword, and away she ran over the hills, dales, and valleys towards the Bridge of Blood. The boy shouted and screamed with all his might. Out ran the hag. Where's the sword? She cried. Someone took it from the step. Off rushed the hag, following the light, but she didn't come near Smallhead till she was over the bridge. Give me that Sword of Light, or bad luck to you, cried the hag. Indeed that I will not. I will keep it, and bad luck on yourself, answered Smallhead. On the following morning she walked to the king's son and said, I have the Sword of Light. Now will you marry my sister? I will, said he. The king's son married Smallhead's sister and got the Sword of Light. Smallhead stayed no longer in the kitchen. The sister didn't care to have her in the kitchen or the parlor. When the king's second son came home, he was not long in the castle when Smallhead said to herself, Maybe he'll marry my second sister. She saw him one day in the garden and went towards him and said something, and she answered, Is it not time for you to be getting married like your brother? When my grandfather was dying, said the young man, he bound my father not to let the second son marry till he had the black book. This book used to shine and give brighter light than ever the Sword of Light, and I suppose it does yet. The old hag beyond the Bridge of Blood has the book, and no one dares to go near her, for many is the king's son are killed enchanted by that woman. Would you marry my second sister if I were to get you the black book? Indeed, I would marry any woman if she got the black book with her. The sword of light and the black book were in our family till my grandfather's time, and then they were stolen by that cursed old hag. I will have the book, said Smallhead, or die in the trial to get it. Knowing that stirabout was the main food of the hag, Smallhead settled in mind to play another trick. Taking a bag, she scraped the chimney and gathered about a stone of soot, and then took it with her. The night was dark and rainy. When she reached the hag's house, she climbed up the gable to the chimney and found that the son was making stirabout for his mother. She dropped the soot down by degrees till the last whole stone of soot was in the pot. She then scraped around the top of the chimney until a lump of soot fell on the boy's hand. "Oh, mother," he said, "the night is wet and soft, the soot is falling." "Cover the pot. Be quick with that stirabout. I am starving." The boy took the pot to his mother. "Bad luck to you," cried the hag the moment she tasted the stirabout. "It's full of soot. Throw it out to the pig." "If I throw it out, there is no water to make more, and I must not go in the dark and rain to the well." "You must go," she said. "I'll not stir a foot unless I get a light." "Is it the book you thinking of, you fool, to take and lose it as you did the sword? Smallhead is watching you." "How could Smallhead, the creature, be outside all the time? Have you no use for the water you can do without? Sooner than you stop fasting till morning." The hag gave her the son, the book. "Do not put it down or let it from your hand till you come in, or I'll have your life." The boy took the book and went to the well. Smallhead followed him carefully. He took the book down into the well with him, and when he was stooping to dip the water, she snatched the book, pushed him into the well, where he came very near drowning. Smallhead was far away when the boy recovered, began to scream and shout to his mother. She came into a hurry, finding the book was gone, fell into such a rage that she thrust a knife into her son's heart and ran after Smallhead, who had crossed the bridge before the hag could come up with her. When the old woman saw Smallhead on the other side of the bridge, facing her and dancing with delight, she screamed, "You took the sword of light and the black book, and your two sisters are married. Oh, then bad luck to you. I will put my curse wherever you go. You have all my children killed, and I a poor feeble old woman." "Bad luck to yourself," said Smallhead. "I am not afraid of a curse from the likes of you. If you had lived an honest life, you would not be as you are today." "Now, Smallhead," said the old hag, "you have me robbed of everything and my children destroyed. Your two sisters are married. Your fortune began with my ruin. Come now, take care of me in my old age. I'll take my curse from you, and you will have good luck. I bind myself to never harm a hair on your head." She thought a while. "Promise to do this," she said. "If you harm me or try to harm me, it will be the worst of yourself for you." The old hag was satisfied and went home. Smallhead went to the castle, was received with great joy. The next morning she found the king's son in the garden and said, "If you marry my sister tomorrow, you will have the black book." "I will marry her gladly," said the king's son. The next day the marriage was celebrated, and the king's son got the book. Smallhead remained in the castle about a week. Then she left good health with her sisters and went to the old hag's house. The old woman was glad to see her and show the girl her work. All Smallhead had to do was wait on the hag and feed a large pig that she had. "I am fatting that pig," said the hag. "He is 7 years old now, and the longer you keep a pig, the harder his meat is. We will keep this pig a while longer, and we will kill him and eat him." Smallhead did her work. The old hag taught her some things, and Smallhead learned herself far more than the hag had dreamt of. The girl fed the pig 3 times a day, and never thinking that he could be anything but a pig. The hag had sent a word to her sister that she had been in the eastern world, bidding her come, that they would kill the pig and have a great feast. The sister came one day, and when the hag was going to walk with the sister, she said to Smallhead, "Give the pig plenty of meal today. This is the last food he'll have. Give him his fill." The pig had his own mind and knew what was coming, put his nose under the pot, and threw it on Smallhead's toes, and she barefoot. With that, she ran into the house for a stick, and seeing a rod on the edge of the loft, snatched it and hit the pig. That moment, when she struck the pig, it turned into a splendid young man. Okay, so I lied. So this is like a mixture between of like the Frog Prince, Cinderella, a whole onslaught of stuff. Anyway, we'll go on. Never fear, said the young man. I am the son of the king that the old hag hated, the king of Munster. She stole me from my father 7 years ago and enchanted me, made me a pig. Smallhead told the king's son then how the hag had treated her. I must make you a pig of you again, for the hag is coming. Be patient, and I'll save you, if you promise to marry me. Oh, I promise, said the king's son. With that she struck him, and he was a pig again. She put the switch in its place and was at her work when the two sisters came. The pig ate his meal now with a good heart, for he felt sure of the rescue. Who is that girl you have in the house, and where did you find her? Asked the sister. All my children died of the plague, and I took this girl to help me. She's a very good servant. At night, the hag slept in one room, her sister in another, and Smallhead in a third. When the two sisters were sleeping soundly, Smallhead rose and stole the hag's magic book and took the rod. She went next to where the pig was, and with one blow of the rod made a man out of him. With the help of the magic book, Smallhead made 2 doves of herself and the king's son, and they took flight through the air and flew without stopping. Next morning the hag called Smallhead, but she did not come. She hurried out to see the pig, and the pig was gone. She ran to her book, not a sign of it. Oh, she cried, that villain of a Smallhead has robbed me. She's stolen my book, made a man of the pig, and to take him away with her. What could she do but tell the whole story to her sister? Go you, she said, and follow them. You have more enchantment than Smallhead has. How am I to know them? Asked the sister. Bring the first 2 strange things you find. They will turn themselves into something wonderful. The sister then made a hawk of herself and flew away, as swiftly as any March wind. Look behind, said Smallhead to the king's son. Hours later, see what is coming. I see nothing, he said, but a hawk coming swiftly. That is the hag's sister. She has 3 times more enchantment than the hag herself. But fly down on the ditch and be picking yourself as doves do in rainy weather. Maybe she'll pass without seeing us. The hawk saw the doves, but thinking them nothing wonderful, flew on to the evening and then went back to her sister. Did you see anything wonderful? I did not. I only saw 2 doves. They picking themselves. You fool! Those doves were Smallhead and the king's son. Off with you in the morning, and don't let me see you again without the 2. Away she went as a hawk the second time, and swiftly as Smallhead and the king's son flew, the hawk was gaining on them. Seeing this, Smallhead and the king's son dropped down into a large village, and it being market day, they made 2 heather brooms of themselves. The 2 brooms began to sweep the road without anyone holding them, and they crept toward each other. This was a great wonder. The crowds gathered around all at once of the 2 brooms. The old hag, flying over in the form of the hawk, saw this, and thinking it must be Smallhead the king's son were in it, she came down, turned into a woman, and said to herself, I'll have those 2 brooms. She pushed forward so quickly through the crowd that she came near knocking down a man standing before her. The man was vexed. You cursed old hag! Why do you want to knock us down? With that he gave her a blow and drove her against another man, and that man gave her a push and sent her spinning against the third man, and so on, till them all they came near putting the life out of her, and pushed her away from the brooms. A woman called out to them, It would be nothing but right to knock the head off the old hag, as she's trying to push us away from the mercies of God, for it was God who sent the brooms to sweep the road for us. True for you, said another woman. With that the people were angry as angry could be, and they were ready to kill the hag. They were ready to take the head off the hag, and when she made a hawk of herself and flew away, vowing she never to do another stroke of work for her sister. She might do her own work or just let it alone. When the hawk disappeared, the 2 heather bedrooms rose and turned into doves. The people felt sure they saw the doves that the brooms were a blessing from the heaven, and that the old hag had drove them away. On the following day, Smallhead and the king's son saw his father's castle, and the tomb came down, not too far from their own forms. Smallhead was a very beautiful woman now, and why not? She had the magic, and didn't spare it. She made herself as beautiful as she ever could, like of her was not to be seen in the kingdom, or the next one. The king's son was in love with her, for that minute, and did not wish to part with her, but she would not go with him. When you are at your father's castle, Smallhead, all will be overjoyed to see you. The king will give a great feast in your honor. If you kiss anyone or let any living thing kiss you, you'll forget me forever. I'll let none of the I will not let even my own mother kiss me, he said. The king's son went into the castle. All were overjoyed. They had thought him dead, had not seen him for 7 years. He will let no one come near to kiss him. I am bound by my oath to kiss no one. He said to his mother. At that moment an old greyhound came in, and with that one spring on his shoulder, licking his face, all the king's son had gone through in 7 years was forgotten in one moment. Smallhead went toward the forge near the castle. The smith had a wife far younger than himself and a stepdaughter. They were no beauties, no, for they had stringy hair and old rags. In the rear of the forge was a well and a tree growing over it. I will go up in that tree, thought Smallhead, and spend the day in it. She went up and saw just over the well, and was not long in the tree when the moon came out, high above the hilltops, and shone on the well. The blacksmith's stepdaughter, coming for water, looked down in the well and saw the face of the woman above in the tree, thought of her own face, and cried, Oh, then to have me bring water to a smith, I such a beauty, I'll never bring another drop to him. With that she cast the pail in the ditch and ran off to find a king's son to marry. When she was not coming with the water, the smith waiting to wash after his day of work, the forge he sent to his mother. Right. The mother had nothing but a pot to get the water, and so off she went with that. Coming to the well, she saw the beautiful face in the water. Oh, you black swarthy villain of a smith, cried she. Bad luck to the hour I met you, and I such beauty, I'll never drop another water in the life for you. She threw the pot, broke it down, hurried away to find some king's son. When neither mother nor daughter came back with the water, the smith himself went to see what was keeping them. He saw the pail in a ditch, and catching it, went to the well. Looking down, he saw the beautiful face of the woman in the water. Being a man, he knew that this face was not of his own. And so he spoke up and looked up the tree, saw the woman. He spoke to her and said, I know now why my wife and her daughter did not bring water. They saw your face in the well, and thinking themselves too good for me, and ran away. You must come now and keep the house until I find them. I will help you, Smallhead said. She came down, went to the smith's house. The woman took. The smith hurried after them, and found the two in the village 10 miles away. He explained their own folly to them, and they came home. The mother and daughter washed fine linen for the castle. Smallhead saw them ironing one day and said, Sit down, I will iron for you. She got the iron, and in an hour had the work of the day done. The woman delighted in the evening, and the daughter took the linen to the housekeeper of the castle. Who ironed this linen, said the housekeeper. My mother and I. Indeed you did not. You can do the like of work. Tell me who did it. The girl was in dread now and answered, It is a woman who was stopping with us who did the ironing. The housekeeper went to the queen and showed her the linen. Send that woman to the castle, said the queen. Smallhead went, and the queen welcomed her. Wondered at her beauty, put it all over the maids in the castle. Smallhead could do anything. Everybody was fond of her. The king's son never knew that he had seen her before. She had lived in the castle a year, what the queen told her she did. The king had made such a match for his son with the daughter of the king of Ulster. There was a great feast in honor for the young couple. The marriage was paid a week later. The bride's father brought many of his people who were versed in all kinds of tricks and enchantment. The king knew that Smallhead could do many things, for neither the queen nor himself had asked her to do a thing, not that she not do it in a twinkle. Now, said the king to the queen, I think she could be summoned to do something these people cannot do. She summoned Smallhead and said, Can you amuse the strangers? He's like, I can, if you wish me to. And when the time came, the Ulster men had shown all of their best tricks. And she came forward and raised the widow, which was 40 feet from the ground. She had a small ball of thread in her hand, and she tied one end of the thread to the window, and threw the ball out over the wall near the castle, and she passed out the window, walked on the thread, and kept in time to the music from players that no man could see. She came in, all cheered her, and were greatly delighted. I can do that, said the king of Ulster's daughter, sprang out on the string, but if she did, she fell and broke her neck on the stones below. There were cries, there were lamentations, and in place of a marriage, a funeral. The king's son was angry and grieved and wanted to drive Smallhead from the castle in some way. She is not to blame, said the king of Munster, who did nothing but praise her. Another year passed. The king got the daughter of the king of Connacht for his son. There was a great feast before the wedding day, and as the Connacht people were full of enchantment and witchcraft, the king of Munster called Smallhead and said this, "Now show the best trick of any." When the feast was over, the Connacht men had shown their tricks. The king of Munster called Smallhead. She stood before the company, threw 2 grains of wheat on the floor, spoke some magic words. There was a hen and a cock before her beautiful plumage. She threw a grain of wheat between them. The hen sprang to eat the wheat. The cock gave her a blow of his bill. The hen drew back, looked at him, and said, "Bad luck to you who wouldn't do the like of that when I was serving the old hag and you, her pig. And I made a man of you and gave you back your own form." The king's son looked at this and thought, there must be something in this. Smallhead threw a second grain. The cock pecked again. He says, "Oh," said the hen, "you would not do that the day the hag sisters was hunting us, and we 2 were doves." The king's son, still more astonished. She threw a third grain. The cock struck the hen. She said, "You would not do that the day I made the 2 heather brooms out of you and myself." She threw a fourth grain. The cock pecked and the hen 4th time. "You would not do that the day you promised to not let any living thing kiss you or kiss anyone yourself. You let the hound kiss you and you forget about me." The king's son made 1 bound forward, embraced and kissed Smallhead, and told the king his whole story from beginning to end. "This is my wife," he said. "I'll marry no other woman." "Whose wife will my daughter be?" asked the king of Connacht. "Oh, she will be the wife of a man who will marry her," said the king of Munster. "My son gave his word to this woman. So this woman, before he saw your daughter, he must keep it." And so, at long last, Smallhead married the king of Munster's son. And that concludes today's trip, folks. Well, these Irish fairy tales, they are quite long and very, very drawn out, I must say. These things are like super drawn out. But anyway. So thank you guys again very much. I think we've made it to about an hour, if not 45 minutes, I think, or so. I'm not really sure what the frame rate right now. Well, we haven't dropped any frames, which is great. I'll probably figure this out about how much we've been going on today. But in any case of the word, thank you guys again so very, very much for sticking with me if you guys are watching the stream right now. And I'm just kind of glad everything's kind of going great now. I guess I have everything set up to where I need it, and I'm just not going to mess with the settings at all. I might mess with something. But again, a really big shout out to Sean Driscoll, who put this PC together for me in such short notice. So, Sean, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's just taken me a couple days to figure this out and do all this stuff. So, with that being said, folks, just letting you guys know once again that this is all my social medias down here. So please feel free to go in, have a look at it, spam all you like. Just don't take my stuff. And please, if you guys are enjoying this, I know this is just a test for today. I know I'm not doing music today. I just thought I'd try something a little bit different, which I'll probably do these from time to time since I'm working on my voices and things like that. But as of today, right now it's really late. It's like 1 o'clock and it's like 1 a.m. in the morning, and I know that people need to sleep and such. So anyway, thank you guys again for so much for watching. Please follow all of the social media stuff down here that you see. Also to my left. So I do have a Patreon, so please follow me on Patreon at JJ Wolf. You can also find me on Twitch at JJ Wolf Music Man. And if you guys want a tip, streamlabs.com/JJ Wolf, 1 tip. So if you guys want to treat me to a month of Amazon Prime, that would be great. Also, I have Venmo as well. So if you guys ever, if you guys want to hear a song, and I'm playing for tips all the time. So please, have a lok at all this stuff here. There's going to be a lot more stuff where all this stuff came from. So with that being said, guys, again, I do want to say thank you very, very much. And thanks so much for being patient and sharing with me and all that wonderful stuff. I do have some shows coming up. So this Saturday, I'll post this stuff tonight, right now. because it's Friday night, or Friday morning. But tomorrow I'm going to be at the Rancho Cucamonga Farmers Market at Terra Vista tomorrow. And then from there, I'm going to be at the Grafton Hotel off of Sunset in Hollywood for a singer-songwriter show. It's going to be a really great show, so I encourage you guys to come on out and check it out. So hopefully it's going to be a really good show. I start at 7 o'clock for that show. For the farmers market, it's going to be from 9 o'clock till from 9 o'clock in the morning till about 1 in the afternoon. So that kind of gives me some time to get home and the whole bit. So again, thank you guys so much for just watching the stream with me and hanging out. If you guys have been watching, I know that the stream's going to be up for a little while. So thank you guys again. And I'll see you guys again soon, very, very soon. So I'll probably do a stream tomorrow, probably around 6 or 7 o'clock. So check out for that then. And looks like everything's going swimmingly. So we'll see you guys again later. Much love. And remember, guys, last thing I want to say is, we're living in some pretty dark times. And the best thing that I wish to give to you guys is please, please, please be kind to everyone that you meet. We are all brothers and sisters of the same species. We have one spirit, one mind, and I would just humbly ask that, we just gotta stop all this crap, and we gotta start, being the change that we want to see. So, with that being said, love you guys. Much love, much peace, much peace, and chicken grease. And we'll see you guys again soon, okay? Bye-bye, guys. I'll be back. Stream ending soon? Okay. We'll see you.